Think about the darkest episode of Boy Meets World. Sean joining a cult, Ched Matthews dying in the hospital. Sure, the show wasn't afraid to get heavy, but the real world took things way too far, because nothing on screen could ever prepare 90s kids for what happened to Rachel McGuire. For millions of fans, Rachel was a core part of their childhood nostalgia, but today if you look up the actress who played her, Maitland Ward, you aren't going to find any family-friendly sitcom reruns. You're going to find adult cinema. It breaks the innocence of those later years, makes rewatching the college era feel slightly uncomfortable, and sparked a massive behind-the-scenes panic with corporate executives who desperately tried to distance themselves from her brand. But does this career shift actually ruin the entire show? Honestly, no. Because when you look at the big picture, Rachel McGuire wasn't even a main character for most of the series. She didn't arrive until season 6, long after the show's legendary foundations were already set. Her path doesn't destroy the childhood magic of the early seasons, but it does expose a massive, fascinating double standard in Hollywood. The awkward silence surrounding Rachel completely shattered when Maitland Ward appeared as a guest on the official rewatch podcast Pod Meets World. What was supposed to be a polite, nostalgic trip down memory lane quickly devolved into a heated, uncomfortable on-air conversation between Maitland and Danielle Fishel. An hour into the episode, the friendly facade completely fractured. Danielle asked Maitland, point blank, "Do you hate us?" What followed was a wave of raw resentment. Maitland shot back, accusing Danielle of harboring a deep dislike for her, revealing that she felt completely blacklisted and ignored by Danielle when visiting years prior the set of Girl Meets World. The exchange pulled back the curtain on decades of tension. Maitland openly claimed Danielle was unsupportive and jealous of the attention she was getting, while Danielle hit back, accusing Maitland of using the drama and avoiding off-air apologies just to chase podcast ratings. The argument laid bare a reality fans didn't want to face. The wholesome, tight-knit family dynamic we saw on the screen was completely dead. And it isn't the career shift, it's the question underneath all of it. What happens when a character from your childhood becomes someone completely different than what you remember? And the truth is, nothing actually happens to the character. Rachel McGuire is still Rachel McGuire. She still exists in rerun streaming platforms, DVDs, frozen exactly where she was written. The change doesn't happen on screen, it happens in us. Because childhood has a way of freezing people in time. We don't just watch characters, we preserve them. We build versions of them in our memory and assume they stay the same forever. But growing up means realizing something uncomfortable. The people behind those characters were never frozen at all. They were real people, living real lives, making real choices once the camera stops rolling. Now, to be fair, Rachel McGuire wasn't written completely as an innocent character. By the college years, the show leaned into her being attractive, confident, sometimes even using that part of the humor. So the idea was that Maitland Ward's later career came out of nowhere isn't exactly accurate, but there's still a massive difference between a network sitcom playing with that image and the completely different world she eventually stepped into. And that's why the reaction was so strong. Not because Rachel changed, but because the distance between Rachel McGuire and Maitland Ward felt impossible for some fans to reconcile. That's not unique to her. If this had been an actress from a random sitcom or a lesser known show, it still would have been notable, but it wouldn't have hit exactly the same. Because Boy Meets World isn't just another 90s sitcom, it's one of those rare shows where everything had to align perfectly to work. The exact actors at the exact time in the exact place all came together and created something special. And people really underestimate just how rare that is. Because when something like that works, it doesn't just become a show, it becomes a shared memory for an entire generation. And that's why moments like this feel bigger than they are. Not because the show changed, but because our relationship to it did. And maybe that's the real illusion. Not the characters, not the story, but the idea anything from our childhood was ever meant to stay exactly the same. At the end of the day, Boy Meets World is still Boy Meets World. As Rafini still teaches his lessons, Sean still searches for meaning, Cordy and Topanga still feel like one of television's most defining love stories, and none of that is touched by what happened years after the show ended. Because the truth is, what happens when a character from our childhood becomes someone completely different than you remember? Nothing. The character stays the same. It's you who realizes they were never meant to grow up with you.